Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining Education USA Ukraine Thursday webinars. Welcome everybody. And today we have a very interesting webinar, and I know maybe some of you are already waiting for the results from a university, American university, and we're thrilled to go to the US to study. Maybe some of you just thinking about starting your way to apply to university and think how is that to live in the US and to be a student in an American university. And today we will speak about this. And I'm very pleased to have many people with me today, and I'm pleased to introduce our interns who will help me to help us to see how actually our Ukrainian students can cope with the first year in the US college or university. And we have Gabriel Cortez today with us. He's a student at the University of Texas, Austin. And we have Titania Green, who is a student at Columbia University. And we also, I'm pleased to have two Ukrainian students who are currently studying in the US, and they can share their personal experience, and you have a great opportunity to ask your questions. We have Sofia Mikhailichenko, who studied at Shawnee State University, and we have Maria Parhomenko, who is studying Western Michigan University right now. And guys, welcome. Thank you for joining. And I give the floor to Gabriel. And before that, just a reminder, if you have questions, please leave them in the chat box, and we will get back to the questions at the end of the presentation. Gabriel, the floor is yours. Please share with us what you suggest and what you suggest to our students for their first year in the US.
Excellent. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, because the screen disappeared for a second, so I worried, but looks like everything's all set. So, yeah. Hey everybody. Hello. Good to see you all. Thank you all for joining in. First of all, I want to say Znem Vishivanka, Den Vishivanka. I know it's a very nice day. I have my Vishivanka in the closet. Unfortunately, I forgot it was the day of the Vishivanka until like the last minute. But I'm happy to see that we have good representation from our Ukrainian students, and it's one of my favorite holidays from the time I spent in Ukraine. So happy day of Vishivanka, and and then today is a big day where you're talking about surviving your first year in an American college, right? It's kind of a exciting thing to think about, also a little bit of a scary thing to think about, but we're going to alleviate your fears. We're going to make you not worry so much, hopefully. And let you know that there are ways to have a very, very successful first year of college in the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of the agenda, just to let you know what we're discussing today. Again, I'm going to have a little bit of a presentation where I talk to you about some tips and tricks, some skills that you might want to have for your first year in college in the United States. But really today, the big focus is going to be on the discussion later, where you'll have opportunities to talk with all of us about any questions you have, relating to surviving your first year in college. But in terms of what we'll talk about in the presentation, and then also a little bit in the discussion, we're going to talk about the academics of it all, staying mentally sound and fit throughout the year. And then, how to have a social life throughout your first year of college as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So in terms of academics, college is scary, especially if it's your first time in college. So as a bachelor's student, especially, right? You're given all this new freedom, right? You went through school for many, many years, right? 11 plus years of, here's your assignments. Most of them are going to be homework due the next day or the following day, right? A really quick turnaround. And for college, assignments aren't truly always like that. For some classes, you might get like daily assignments if it's a foreign language or if it's mathematics. But in general, some classes don't even have assignments really. You might have 1 or 2 exams throughout the semester, and that's it. That's your whole entire grade. And so sometimes when you go into a class and you see, oh, I only have 2 tests and I don't have to do anything. Oh, it's an easy class, right? And it's easy to think, oh, well, actually, I need to make time to study, and I need to make time to, you know, form a social study group with other people, and I need time to read books related to the class. And so what might seem like an easy class at first is really a lot of work that you are responsible for, right? And that you have to set up your own tasks. So, you know, using a planner, using a calendar or a journal of some kind is the best way to make sure that you can keep track of your assignments, right? There's a lot that goes into, you know, having classes. And if you have 4 classes or 5 classes, then keeping track of all of those can be difficult, right? If you're trying to do it in your head, right? If you're trying to like, is my sociology, you know, assignment, is that due next week or is that due in a month, right? It's a lot to kind of keep track just in your mind. So having something where you can write down, hey, this is my assignment, this is what I have to do, this is when it's due, right? How long, right? You can look at a calendar and see, oh, okay, this is how much time I have left, this is how much time I should be preparing. This week, you know, coming up, it's going to be very busy, so maybe I should try to do homework ahead of time, that kind of thing. That's what a calendar or a planner or a journal can really help with. Personally, I use a calendar. I use a Google Calendar, so that way I can sync everything. So if I have, you know, if there's a public discussion that UT is doing, right, where we have a guest speaker, you know, I can click the button and add that to my schedule so I don't forget. And then if I have a assignment that's due, I can look and say and see that, oh, there's an assignment due this day. Okay, I can keep track of it. And so having an online calendar for me has helped, especially in a master's program where you have assignments that are very spaced out, where, you know, most of my classes have like 1 paper or 2 papers. So keeping track of them is like very, very important to see, okay, I need to really, really work on this. And then on top of that, right, when we're talking about academics, make sure to go to class. Please, please go to class. You know, you're spending a lot of money and you're investing a lot of effort into your experience as a college student. So make sure that you are attending. You know, it might seem that like, you know, maybe the particular professor isn't the most interesting, or maybe, you know, there's some other event at the same time that seems, you know, more exciting than class. But class is a really good opportunity for you to, you know, not only get to know your professor and kind of what they're looking for in terms of assignments and exams, you know, what kind of answers they're looking for or what they want you to know, but it's also a really good opportunity to meet your fellow classmates, get to know them, you know, get to be, you know, get that real college experience, right? And, you know, I don't know how many of us are going to want to skip class, especially after this last year. You know, there's a, you know, a good opportunity to meet people and you know, get to know our professors. So yeah, just make sure you're going to class, and then office hours as well. Office hours are super important. This was something that I didn't do as much in my undergraduate degree, but during my graduate degree, even when we went online, I've used office hours a lot to talk to professors, to, you know, get some feedback on what am I doing right in the class, what can I improve, you know, what are opportunities that I can look for. If I'm doing a research project, they can help connect me with people. So office hours are really, really important. I know some people seem to think that like you're bothering the professor and they just want to be left alone. Office hours are their time to talk with students. You know, that's their time where they can sit in their office, you know, either on Zoom or, you know, in person with the door open, and it's their time to meet with you as a student. So please use office hours, speak to your professors or to their teaching assistants, their TAs, speak to them and really, you know, develop a good relationship with them so that you can understand what are their expectations of you from the class. Okay, so continuing on with academics, colleges have a lot of resources, right? At first, it's actually very overwhelming. Even if you go on the website and you see like, hey, you know, this university has this resource and this resource and this resource. When you're researching this months ahead of time, when you're applying to colleges, it can be easy to forget that when you actually show up day one, that the university does have a lot of resources. So, just make sure that you're staying plugged into the resources that are available. So for example, libraries, they're going to be your best friends when you're at school, because you can check out books, right? Sometimes you can even check out textbooks, which can save you a lot of money. So there's a ton of resources that libraries provide. They give you a space to study, right? So if you need to get out of your dorm room or your apartment and you need to work on something for a few hours, a library is like, the perfect place. Here at the University of Texas at Austin, we have like 9 libraries. So there's no shortage of libraries. And so, and many universities have more than one. So there's plenty of opportunities to find a spot, sit down for a few hours and get to work. So libraries are always great. Tutoring centers are also very, very helpful. They can help with, if you struggle with a particular subject like math or English or any subject really, your university likely will offer a center where other students who are, very, very good at their subject will help tutor you, right? And it's usually like free. It's usually a service that the university provides because they want, they don't want students to fail. They want students to succeed, to do well. They want you to do well. And so using these resources like the tutoring center is like really important. And it's great because, again, it's another way to meet fellow students. Usually they're going to be further along in their college program. They might be a senior in college or a graduate student. But still, it's a good way to meet new people and for them to also help you with any subjects that you need assistance with. And then career centers are obviously, after college, obviously everybody wants to pursue their passion and, whatever you're studying, most likely you're going to want to pursue a career in that field. And so career centers are excellent for that. So they'll put you in touch with like internships. If you have a question about a particular field, people at the Career Center know other, professionals in different fields, so they can put you in contact. And a simple email is usually all it takes to get the process started, to begin an internship or to even get a job offer sometimes. I can't tell you how many times, in person while I was walking to class, where I would see a professor and a student communicating in the hallway, or a student and a career counselor like they were talking in the hallway, and the student was like, well, I'm interested in, this organization, or I'm interested in working for this agency. And the career counselor or the professor was like, oh, I know this person who works there. I'll put you in contact. And then like months later, that student had an internship at that place, at that agency or that organization. So really use that opportunity to connect with people there, because they'll help you succeed. And then in terms of discovering study habits, every person's going to be different. You might be a morning person, you might be an evening person. A subject might come to you naturally, and you feel that maybe you don't have to study as much on that subject, but maybe you need to spend more time on another subject. So for example, my first semester of my graduate program, which is in basically international relations, the international relations classes were pretty easy for me, just because I had a background in it a little bit and I understood the concepts just from my own experience. So I didn't have to dedicate so much time to that class. But on the other hand, I had another class called Analytic Foundations, which was very quantitatively heavy, meaning it was a lot of math. And so I needed to focus more study time on that class because there were more problem sets, there was more homework, the assignments were a little bit more challenging for me. And so, making sure that you put the appropriate study time for the subjects that you feel you need to pay more attention to, right? If you want to set 3 hours each day to study another subject, make sure that that time is being put aside properly, where you're studying a particular subject that you feel like you need to study more on. And it's all going to depend, right? Again, if you're a morning person or night person, if you like to study in peace and quiet, or if you like to be at a cafe where there's like noise around, that's going to kind of be up to you. But there's a lot of opportunities, so don't worry. And a lot of universities have study programs that they'll put you in touch with a counselor basically who can help you set up a study guide for you. So this is somebody who's like excellent at making study schedules, and they can help you develop that as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, starting projects early, right? Do not procrastinate. Don't put it back into the last possible minute. Try to work on things when you have free time, or, again, if you look at your schedule and you're like, okay, this week I'm free, but next week I'm super busy. Maybe on the week that you're free, maybe try to work on a project or two, try to get a head start on something that is many months away. Because I'm telling you, it's going to save you a lot of stress in the future, for sure. And then just, a quick note on this paragraph here on the bottom. Plagiarism is very seriously taken in the United States. It can get you kicked out of school, like kicked out of the university. So please, if you have any questions about citations, about citing something in your paper, go to the tutoring center. Usually the universities have a writing center. That would be your best place to go and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. I want to make sure that I'm citing things because, all it takes is one sentence you copy and pasted from Wikipedia and put in your paper to get you into like very, very serious trouble. So just please make sure that you're citing correctly. And again, there's a lot of resources at the university to help to make sure that you avoid that problem. All right, so you can't be a successful student unless you're feeling well, right? There has to be a balance between, as much as, I know many of us would like to be able to study all the day and just focus on school, because we enjoy it and we love learning. There has to be a balance, right? So you have to make sure that you're healthy and that you're feeling mentally well and then also physically well, because it can be easy to get kind of distracted with school and focusing just on school. So, as it says on the slide, know like when enough is enough. In terms of sleep, making sure that you're getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep, not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning and then waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to class, right? Trying not to do that every day, because over time, the less you sleep, your mood is going to suffer, your attention span is going to suffer, your grades might suffer, your friendships might suffer, right? If you're tired and maybe agitated all the time. So please make sure you're getting enough sleep. Take breaks, right? There's a lot of different techniques you can use, right? You can go around for a walk. You can do a quick exercise. I like using the Pomodoro technique. If anybody else in here uses that, where you time yourself for approximately 25 minutes and you dedicate yourself to your task for 25 minutes. And then when the timer goes off, you stop. Whatever you're doing, you stop, and then you take a 5 to 10 minute break, and then you do the process over again. And so that way, you can fully commit yourself with no distractions, no phone, no social media, and then you get a 5 or 10 minute break to get up, get some water, check your phone, that kind of stuff. It's worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it is really popular in US universities right now. And then just make time for yourself, right? You might think that I have a million projects, I have assignments, I have to do internship, I have all these things. Make sure that you're taking time to, go outside. You're going to be here in the United States, so if there's places you want to travel to, or if there's like parts of town you want to visit, or even a park that you like going to, make sure to give yourself that time to be able to enjoy yourself and get to explore, because it really is important. And then in terms of, like your own body and health, right? Just, yeah, make sure you're eating right. I know here in the US, it can be very easy to find delicious food that isn't exactly the most healthy, right? Like fast food, McDonald's, right? And it'll be exciting, right? You'll be here and there'll be a McDonald's on every corner. And you'll be like, ooh, this is great. This is like, I could just eat like this, and it's cheaper than, healthy food. But again, right, trying to have that balance of, okay, well, I should wake up and try to eat something that's going to give me nutrition and something that's going to help me be able to focus and something, so I'm not going to be hungry in class, right? Because I often in universities, I've done my undergraduate and my graduate degree now. I usually see the opposite problem where people don't eat, where they'll do 6 hours of classes and they didn't have a snack or they didn't eat and they just look miserable. They just look like tired. They look like they can't focus. So like get snacks, get healthy snacks, get like a banana or a granola bar or something, whatever you enjoy, and just make sure that you're taking care of yourself well enough that you can come to school, focus, and feel good about yourself. All right. And then on top of that, of course, it's important to budget your money, as we can see in the meme here. Budgeting is very, very important. It can be really, really easy to use all your money in a single weekend, right? Maybe your friends invite you to, another state and you go for this trip for a weekend. But over there you spend a lot of money, you go out to restaurants, you go like to shows or whatever. And then you're basically broke for the rest of the day or the rest of the month. So just make sure that you're budgeting your money, right? Tracking expenses. It can be tempting to go to Starbucks every day. But when you look at the end of the month, let's say you get a coffee every day, coffee's $4 or $5, 7 days a week for 30 days, 31 days. That's going to be over $200 for coffee. So, just make sure that and that's not to say don't get Starbucks, right? Because Starbucks can be tasty. But just make sure that you are budgeting so you know where your money is going. Because the most dangerous thing you can do is at the end of the month, look at your bank account and say, where did my money go, right? Like, where did I spend it all? But if you have an Excel chart or a journal somewhere where you can keep track of how you're spending your money, you'll be able to see how you're spending your money, and then you'll be able to see maybe what you're spending maybe too much money on and what you can cut back so that you can make sure that you're kind of balancing everything in order. And then, in addition to budgeting your money, just make sure that you stay in touch with people back home, right? Because, and this is the tricky balance, because you are in a new country. This is a new opportunity for you to kind of discover yourself, to meet new people, experience, everything you want to here in America. But at the same time, staying in touch with family and friends back home is super important, right? Because they don't want you to feel like a stranger, or that you're going to come back from America and be too good for them or something like that, right? But at the same time, you don't want them calling you every day or, maybe like twice or 3 times a day, right? Because you want to feel that you have the opportunity to enjoy yourself here without, making people back home feel, guilty or jealous or something like that. So, achieving that balance is going to be important, and it might take time. It might take a few months into your college career, but it is important to make sure that you are enjoying yourself, but then also, making sure that you don't forget about the people that are close to you back home. Okay, and then in terms of social life, I think this is our last slide. Get to know people. It can be very scary coming to a new country and living in a new place, especially when you're far away from the friends and the family that you know. But, people in America are generally friendly. They're going to want to, especially at universities, people are very curious. They want to get to know people. Being from Ukraine, you're going to have an excellent opportunity to, talk about who you are, where you're from, about Ukrainian traditions and holidays like Vyshyvanka Day. So use these opportunities to like meet people, talk to people, take advantage of free food. Oh my gosh, there's always events at universities that are giving out free food, or they're giving out free items like, notebooks or like swag, as we call it, right? So they'll give you like tote bags full of goodies. So, go to these events, right? Join a club, right? Join an academic club and get to know people. Do sports, go to a sports game, right? Americans, we love our games, especially universities. Like some of these games, I go to University of Texas that Austin. It doesn't get much more, super, you don't get as many diehard fans of like football and basketball than you do here. So, go to a game, experience the crowd, get to see what attending an American university sports game is like. And then explore your town, right? There's a lot of cool opportunities, even if it's a small town, right? Find a new coffee shop, discover a new place, like, go travel to little towns nearby. There's always new exciting things to see and new people to meet. So, just make sure you're balancing your school life with your social life, and that you're maintaining that balance throughout your first year of college. So that is it from me. So I will turn it over.
Thank you, Gabriel. A wonderful presentation. I love the illustration, by the way, very much. Well, we do have one question, though. I think I'll just probably, before we go to girls. There is a question: how to prepare for studying if you don't know yet exactly which university you are going to or you're planning to study in the U.S.
Yeah.
Is there any like some kind of a universal tips?
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question, and it's great that you're already thinking about that, because I don't think I was in your position. I don't think before college I was like, how am I going to study? I should have been, but I didn't. So it's great that you're thinking about that. There are online resources to talk to you about, how you should be studying. I know there's a couple like MOOC courses, like the massively online courses. There's a couple of them, I think, on edX and on Coursera that are specifically on developing study habits. If you type in like how to study or study habits, one of those classes should pop up. And I remember watching one of those before I started graduate school, and I found it pretty helpful. So I would look into that. And then for the universities that you're applying to, message them and say, hey, I'm a prospective student. I'm thinking about attending your university. But before I join, I'm trying to develop my study habits. What are the resources that you give to your incoming students, right? Like the students who are just starting out. So message the universities and see what they say, because they'll either direct you to resources that they have at their university.
Okay. I'm not sure who's frozen. Is it Gabriel or me?
I think it's Gabriel.
Yeah, Gabriel froze. Okay. Well, till we wait for Gabriel to get back to us, I think he was in the midst of the really good. Gabriel, are you back with us?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we can hear you, because we lost you for a little second.
Oh, okay. I wasn't able to tell because it just shows on my screen. It just shows questions. So.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I can put what I was about to say in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the answer. So I think it's time to go to our guest, Sophia Maria. I know this is a little bit different experience for you than to Gabriel and Titania, since it's just a different country, it's a different culture, something really new and unusual maybe. So I have a few questions for you both. And if we can see you, that would be great. So can you, first of all, I know that when we go to study, we already imagine this place, we already imagine the university, the life. We hear, we see, we read a lot about the United States. So, girls, it was something really a surprise for you. It was something that didn't like turn out the exact way as you expected it to be. If you can share this with us, it would be great. And you can share your own experience. For example, how you coped your first year. Was it easy? Was it hard? So we can go by turn. Sophia, you can go first. You would love it. Yeah, you're muted.
Sure. So just because I was a flex exchange student before coming to the university, so my experience might be a little bit different just because I already had experience kind of like adapting to American culture and, making new friends and kind of like finding the ways how to work with everything. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, I got pretty lucky to go to the university in the same state where I kind of spent my exchange year. So I was really close to my host family. I still keep in touch with them. I still visit them sometimes. So it was a little bit different for me. But I for sure agree with everything that was said in the presentation. It was a great presentation. I wish I actually watched it before I came here, just because probably that was my biggest mistake with academics, is that I didn't use office hours. At first, just because, again, I didn't know about them. And when I found out, it was the greatest resource you can ever use. But definitely get engaged with the school and stay active. Because for me, also what was hard is homesickness. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're going to be away from home and with COVID now, I haven't been home for probably over almost 2 years, so it's been a little hard, but staying connected with people here and maybe back home, as well as being involved with clubs and different student organizations on campus helped me a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That was my next question. So what actually helped you, specifically you, to stay, not to meet that much of family and just to cope with this new environment? So yeah, well, being engaged, I believe. Maria, how about you? Was it something new to you, or you already knew everything before you even came to the US? What is going to be? If you can share your experience with us.
Yes, of course. So my problem was that there was very few events that happened on campus, and it was very difficult. Mm-hmm. And the campus seemed empty, no people, almost no people. So my solution was that I made a lot of friends, and it was very helpful. So I recommend it's better to communicate and make as many friends as possible, and of course trying to participate even in online events, mm-hmm. online organizations, because of the pandemic we have some problems with meeting and other things, but it's important to stay positive.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for the suggestions. What was the most difficult? You say it's just because there was no people. What about the classes? What was the most difficult for you? How did you feel when you just started your classes?
Okay, so personally, I think we had a lot of assignments and readings. Mm-hmm. I studied political science, and there are a lot of assignments, papers, and it can be scary in the beginning. But I really, like Gabriel recommended, I visited professors, and also I talked to students, and it was very helpful. They are always ready to help and to support us. Sometimes it's really scary because you have to read a lot, and then you realize that you don't have to read every page and every word. So you should get used to it.
Maria, Sophia, yeah, Sophia, you said you've been a part of the flex cohort, I know that just helps a lot, but still university life is a little bit different than school life. So what was the most difficult for you when you started your studies in university?
Oh yeah, you're so right. It was so different. Probably not what you expected at first. But probably for me, what was kind of the most difficult is how the classes were set up. Just because obviously American school is still way different from college, and I wasn't prepared for classes being so kind of like spread out, and then like that I can choose my own classes with, from this list of classes. And what was helpful for me is talking to advisors. And at first, like when you just join college, you don't get the specific advisor, you just get kind of like a general advisor that directs you. And so I got into some classes and I didn't know what to expect from them. So definitely read your syllabus. Don't be like me being like, oh yeah, I know what to expect. I know what they do. No, read the syllabus and make sure you understand like what books you need, what assignments you need to do.
The deadlines.
The deadlines, yep, that's for sure.
Yes, and I forgot to mention that Sophia is an undergraduate student. She's studying on the bachelor's programs, and Maria, she's a graduate student. So it's. I think this is also a little bit different world. Titania, thank you for joining. Maybe there is something you would love to add, and probably your personal tips on how to cope or how to survive, or just how cope with difficulties.
I definitely want to echo Sophia on reading your syllabus. It's very important. Almost the first day of every class, whether it's undergrad or graduate school, will be the professor handing you that syllabus and going over it and telling you where you can access it if you were to lose the paper copy. But that's when things were in person. Now it's online. But your syllabus is really a way for you to like track your schedule. And I know sometimes with reading, it can get very overwhelming. And I find it helpful to look ahead of time to see which weeks you're going to have a lot of readings more than usual, so you can really manage your time better. In addition to that, definitely finding kind of like a study group within your class. I took quantitative analysis on the graduate level, and it was just a lot. It was a lot of work, not only reading the chapters, but also coding in Stata afterwards. And everybody in the class kind of formed their own small study groups where they got together to really talk about kind of like the statistical concepts that we were covering and to go over our codes together. And then, that class was happening during the beginning of the pandemic, so we quickly switched remotely. And so we were just organizing Zoom meetings where we would still get together and talk about our codes and talk about the concepts and compare our work and how we were explaining things, in addition to using those office hours. So definitely make friends so you all can get together and form these study groups.
Thank you, Titania. We have a question for Sophia. Sophia, what is your favorite student organizations? I believe it's probably in your university.
Okay. We have actually a lot of organizations. Unfortunately, because of COVID, not all of them were active. For example, I am a part of math club. Well, I also forgot to mention my major is mathematical sciences. So that's why I'm in that club. It's a lot of fun. We just, talk about math and order some pizza pre-COVID and just do some fun fundraisers. Like a couple of months ago, we did Pie Day, where we basically sold pie, and then when you bought a pie, you could put money in a jar of a professor, and at the end, whoever got the most money, the professor who got the most money got pied in the face. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm also a part of their volunteering organization. It's called Rotaract. So they basically do different community service, like inside, like on campus, as well as outside of campus. And we try to do some online events as well. And actually next year, I'm going to be a part of the student government on campus, and I'll be a treasurer. So yeah, I would definitely advise looking for different opportunities on campus and just asking around. I agree with everyone who said make friends and talk to people. It's not that scary. And also definitely use resources on campus, because they are there for you to use. They are free most of the times. even talking to your career services, just, about any openings on campus, like they have different jobs that you can also do. For example, I'm a math tutor. It's a job, and all I had to do is take Calculus 1. And as a freshman, I was able to be a tutor and help other students with math. So definitely use resources on campus.
Thank you, Sophia. Do you have Ukrainians in your university, by the way?
No, unfortunately, my university is really, really small. We have probably like 3,200 people, like students. So I'm not the first Ukrainian on campus, but I'm the only Ukrainian right now.
Wonderful. Maria, do you have Ukrainians? What about your organizations on campus? Do you have time? I know this is the master, degree. I think you have less free time than the bachelor students, probably. But do you still have time for the other activities than the classes?
First, we have Ukrainians at our university, but I didn't meet them in person. And also, what about all these organizations? So usually graduate students, they don't have time to participate in organizations because we have a lot of assignments, and I had almost no free time to go somewhere or participate. So I just studied a lot, and it was my first year. So I wanted to improve my English, my writing, and my speech. So I focused on my papers and my writing, and also my readings. Also, graduate students like masters and PhD students, they do a lot of research. So they usually are not very active on campus.
Well, I mean, I hope by the second year you will have more time, a little more time to have other activities other than the classes and the assignments. All right.
I wanted to add, just because I just realized I forgot to mention, if you want to get involved with different organizations, a great kind of start can be to go to the Welcoming Week. I feel like a lot of universities do kind of like a weekend of welcome, at least my university does. And that's kind of like a weekend of just a lot of fun. And usually there is a time slot on each day when you can go around campus, and different organizations will set up tables. And so, you can directly ask the officers of the clubs what they do, and you'll see what organizations the university has to offer.
Thank you, Sophia, for the information.
Yeah. I definitely recommend, like, I'm on the same boat as Maria as we're nearing the end of my master's program. And I think even if you can't be as active on campus, one thing I did do was go to certain events if it was on research topics that I was very much interested in. And that's a good way to still kind of connect and meet people. Also, most of the time there's free food, so you have some downtime, eat some really good free food, and meet people. And I definitely, for the undergrad, I went to a smaller school, a lot smaller school, with only a few hundred people during my undergrad. So I understand the feeling of feeling like that there's no one on campus, you're in a very small space, and there's nothing to do. And I think in that case, getting involved in clubs and things like that is the way to go to become more active on campus and meet more people. But again, as Maria said, in grad school, it's definitely harder with the amount of workload that you have. But if you can attend some events, especially ones that you are interested in, whether it's work related or just your own interest on the side, definitely do that. That's a great way to participate without kind of the full-on commitment of a club.
Thank you, Titania. Another question, I think another question is to everybody, like what most important at first year of studying? What one would need to focus on, I believe this is.
Yeah, I honestly think, sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'll just be quick. I honestly think it's really important to, as everybody has echoed, like make friends and really put yourself out there, because you're going to establish your reputation early on. And so if people know you as, and especially being like Ukrainian and being an international student, like a lot of eyes, well, I mean, depending on the size of your university, but, you know, you will attract more attention just because, you know, you might be, you know, oh, that's Sophia, she's the Ukrainian student, right? And so you get all that attention. And so, you know, being able to be a good, almost like a good ambassador of your country is really important. So like, and that's not to say you have to go around and befriend everybody, but, you know, being polite, being known as honest, and like, you know, being somebody that can be dependable, right? Because I know when I was a flex pre-departure orientation teacher, one of the things I would always have to tell flex students is you have to like maintain your promises, because I know in Ukrainian culture it can be very easy to be like, hey, let's go get coffee after work, or like, hey, we're gonna meet at Starbucks tomorrow, will you come? And then like, the Ukrainian student wants to say yes to everything. You're like, yeah, I'll be there. And then if they don't show up, in American culture, it can be kind of seen as like, oh, Sophia, like she said she was gonna come, but then she didn't come, so she's not really reliable. And so, you know, and there's gonna be cultural mix-ups, right? There's gonna be like things that happen. You know, it happened for me and Tatiana when we came to Ukraine, right? There were like cultural, you know, small misunderstandings. So those are going to happen no matter what. But I think it's just important to put yourself out there, make friends, because, you know, the sooner you establish a reputation as being somebody who's kind, who's dependable, who's like worth getting to know, the easier it's going to be from there on out, rather than if you stay in your room all day and nobody ever sees you, then they're going to be like, oh, I've heard there's a Ukrainian student, but I've never seen him or her. Like, I don't know if they exist. So yeah, so just go out there and make friends.
I definitely agree with that. That's a really, really good advice. And another thing I would say is to learn time management early on. The first year is probably the best year to learn that and establish the habit of like dedicating some time to work, dedicating some time, well, work and studying. I keep saying work to everything I do. And make sure you also have time for yourself, because I definitely agree it can be really easy to forget that you need to eat or that you need to take a break, just because you keep doing this assignment and you're like, okay, I need to finish it. It's due, even if it's due in 2 weeks, I still want to be done with it earlier. But then you spend 5 hours just working without taking a break, which is not good. So your first year, definitely kind of like take it easy and see what working habits work for you and how much time you need to spend on each subject. So I discovered writing takes a really long time for me, and I don't like writing. That's why I'm a math major. But I know that if I have a paper due, I would at least allow myself to have like 3 weeks. So I have time to brainstorm and draft my paper and then go to writing center, get their advice, and maybe talk to the professor. So time management and studying skills.
I definitely agree with that. And I think preparation as well. One thing I did both in undergrad and grad school is before I even signed up for classes, I looked at my course requirements for my degree, and then I looked at what was being offered, and then I kind of read through the descriptions and figured out what courses I wanted to take so I could kind of mentally prepare myself for my course load. In grad school, you know, I took a lot of classes. I took like 5 classes a semester, which is a lot for a grad student. So I think for me, but I knew I was going to do that. I planned on doing that. So kind of understanding what you think is going to be your appropriate workload, and then practicing that time management, also stress management as well. That's a big thing because it can get overwhelming, especially during midterms and finals. So really, once you have that time management, put in some self-care as well. It's very important.
Maria, do you have an advice? Like the best lesson learned from the first year in the university?
I would also say time management. It's the most important thing, because apart from your studies, you should cook yourself, do your laundry, and also other stuff. And sometimes somebody calls you, and it's very difficult to balance your life and your studies. So you need to have a planner, really to have a planner and write the amount of work you plan to do and what are you going to study and your meetings as well, because it's very overwhelming. And sometimes you don't know how to manage all of this. You have so many assignments and also your personal things to do. So yes, time management, and also follow the deadlines, because if you miss the deadline, then professors, they will not praise you or give you some prize. Professors can lower your grade. So I would recommend not doing it and follow all deadlines you have.
Yeah, we always for all of our students, we always say deadlines are very important in everywhere, and especially in the United States and university. Well, I think I see no more questions from our audience, and
can I add? Can I add something to that too? Just because I kind of thought about it a little bit more, and don't be afraid to reach out for help. It can be either academics or, again, your personal. There are resources to help you, and that's for what I've learned my first year too, just because I didn't know who to talk to. And the first person kind of like to reach out to is your designated officer, so like the director of international programs in your university. Definitely talk to him or her, and then they'll direct you to an appropriate resource on campus. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid. There is help there, and you're not alone here, even though you're so far away from home.
Very important information. Thank you, Sophia. So thank you, everybody. Good luck with your studies. Keep, stay energized. Don't feel lonely. I'm sure you won't. I hope this COVID period will end soon, especially in the United States. I think it's just getting much better right now. We do have another question. Just give me a second. Okay. Hello, everybody. Do you have tips for successful writing for international students in the USA? How to improve writing skills and get high grades? Thank you. It's a little bit like a different topic, off-topic question, but maybe like 1-2 minutes, guys. If you can you can give some suggestions on how to improve the writing.
I think the only way you can become a better writer, unfortunately, is to write more. And definitely visit your learning center and visit a tutor if you are struggling with that. A lot of professors as well, they'll ask for rough drafts and they'll give you feedback. And I think that's very important. And a lot of professors look for that. When they give you feedback, they expect you to take it. Mm-hmm. I think that's been a key thing, especially in grad school. Compared to undergrad, there is a lot more writing in grad school. There's less tests because it is about really honing in on those skills. So definitely visit learning centers. If you are at a bigger university, definitely schedule those learning center appointments early, because when it comes to midterms and finals, there are basically no slots left. And it can be very overwhelming when you need that assistance and you can't get it. So again, goes back to that time, that planning and time management. But definitely use your learning center.
Oh, right. Thank you. Well,
something about writing.
Yes, Maria.
Okay, I want to say that students can practice their writing. For example, if they read a book, they can take notes, and it's also very helpful.
Thank you for the tip. I think the more you read, especially in English, much better your grammar is, definitely. Well, our time is almost up, and thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for sharing your stories and your tips. Again, good luck with your studies, maybe see you next year or at another event. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Have a good one, and see you next Thursday. I think we're good. Anastasia? Yes. Well, thank you, everybody. Guys, see you